In women, because I think they've got a culture where they get into sort of like a retreat where they get taught how to waist training. It's called chinemwari. You should Google that, chinemwari. They go and get taught how to move their waistline. That's the shit right there.
I don't know if size counts really, but I think it's how the person works with it. I think big dick is overrated. I feel like there's a myth or the legend behind it is just it's false.
I don't think that size matters, and I don't think that it's about size. I think that it's about being comfortable with yourself, and knowing what to do with what you've got. I don't think that it's about size.
If you don't speak, nothing's going to change. If you don't speak to your partner and tell him or her what you like, they're never going to know. You know what I mean? So there's no point telling your girls like, oh, show me. You know, he doesn't do this. You need to speak. I've learned that when I speak, then there's results.
Although some women don't like it, if I ask you, am I hitting it right? Tell me you're hitting it right. If I'm hitting it right, tell me, yeah, baby, you're hitting it right. So talk to me. I wouldn't know. Otherwise, if you're just lying down there like a Nando's chicken, all I'm going to do is come, because I don't know what you want or if you're feeling it.
Hey, welcome to our second episode of Unfiltered Live. We've decided to do a co-hosting type situation for the episodes going forward because we had such a good time last week and the vibe was kind of awesome between the two of us. So today we're going to be talking sexual unsatisfaction, like that, sexually unsatisfied, which is basically, we read a poll on Victoria Milan website, which is a dating website where people can organize affairs. And it said that South African women are the least sexually satisfied in the world by our men.
Damn.
So I suppose the first thing we're going to go into is whether or not we agree. I feel like it's going to be opposites here, maybe.
I mean, I definitely can't speak for South African women.
Mm-hmm.
So
I should start.
I think people,
Okay.
I mean, would, based on your sort of experiences and conversations that you've had and that, what's the general sense?
There's a few people, especially the women on the episode that we just showed everyone, that say communication is the biggest struggle. So I do agree with that poll, but I don't blame it solely on men. I feel like there's an issue with South African women and being taught virtue and how virginity is a prize and you shouldn't talk about certain things, you shouldn't be a hoe, you shouldn't be experimental. So I think there's something to be said about what we know about ourselves as well, and therefore what we can communicate to our partners. But I do think South African men are lazy. I get a lot of this in specifically one-night stand situations, not my own, the ones that I've heard of, where only the woman is supposed to be active and bouncing on dick and, twerking and this and that, and the guy is just kind of like waiting to come and sleep. So I agree, but I do think it's a two-way thing. I don't want to put the onus solely on men.
So my immediate question is, when South African women say this, or based on this poll, is it a case of, obviously they're saying they're not satisfied by South African men.
Yeah.
But have they been then exposed to men from other regions and other countries? Because there was a point that one of the guys made, and I think he even admitted that he was from Zim, and he was just like, and he made it a broader thing, and he said Southern African men, Southern African women. He was like, maybe they feel like that because they haven't been exposed to people, from different regions. What would you say?
But I suppose the poll was taken country specific. So Danish women were satisfied by Danish men. French women were satisfied by French men. We were the only ones who were like, oh, in terms of our men, it's not great. So I don't think it's a need to be exposed to different people. I think it's maybe what we're exposed to watching. And knowing if you don't come, you don't come. So if I'm not coming and I've read stories about the explosions and the fireworks and the stars, and I know that at the end of it, I'm just like, anyway, what's for dinner? Then that's what I'm comparing it to.
But are South African women, are they pleasuring themselves? Do they know how to, like that feeling that that whether it's an orgasm or close to an orgasm or just feeling, enjoying sex and enjoying the whole experience, that do they themselves know?
I don't know. Remember we were talking earlier about South African women are, like I said, conservative.
Yeah.
So even female masturbation is like a no-go zone. people, even when they do masturbate, don't talk about it or feel ashamed to be like, you know what, I have a vibrator, I touch myself, I enjoy it. So there's something to be said about this conservative society of South Africa, that we're not even allowed to pretend we masturbate even when we do. I do know a lot of women who actually have never. And I remember a friend of mine said, for my birthday, all I want is a vibrator. And I was like, girl, can I take you? Because that thing will change your life. So I don't think we're allowed to pretend or say that we do, both with women and men and older people. I know, like, even when we talk about it, girls get very bashful about, like, yeah, I mean, maybe I've touched myself one time. So I think that's an issue as well, to not know what we even want in bed, or what we enjoy, what our pleasure zones are, all those things. But I think we're just not allowed to, almost.
I mean, when I think back, particularly to sort of my first, obviously the first time I was properly exposed to a lot of girls was university. And no, I'm talking about it on a broader sense. Yeah, that's and a lot of them used to, I don't know if they were just lying or embarrassed, but a lot of them would say that they've never ever like masturbated. For me, it was like complete mindfuck. I couldn't believe it.
Even for me, I only started exploring that side of things after I'd even had sex for the first time, because it was just one of those things, like I said, that's taboo almost. And if you touch yourself, you these things, men, I mean, most of the time, I won't mention names, but the people we spoke to and said when they were like, as dudes, they started masturbating at 9 or started exploring that kind of thing. And I was like, 9? But I mean, I get it. Like, that's when sexual urges start. It's not like I hadn't been, curious about porn or all those things, but I knew I wasn't supposed to. I just wasn't. I'm a girl. I must just have sex to procreate. So my masturbation and all those things, or things that I try to explore, came much later, after my first sexual experiences. And I know that for the first few times I had sex, I was literally just like, oh, I wish he would finish, because actually, like, I really want to go.
Yeah.
I do.
Was that also because of the way you'd been brought up, and not being able to talk to the guy, and not being able to either guide him, or what would you say is the reasoning for that? Especially because I don't think it was all one night stands.
Let's not talk about me specifically, but I think we're going down a very shady path. But I do know that with men as well, and with women, young women, we're not told we're allowed to talk about it, like I said. So most of the time, you're supposed to be a virgin until marriage, and you're supposed to give it to your partner as like a gift, or I don't know, whatever. So it's not something that we're just allowed to explore. And I just don't feel like women have even, one of the guests on the previous episode spoke about chinemwari, I think it's called. So in Malawi, Zam, they have this almost initiation where they take young girls and they teach them how to move the hips, and they teach them how to pleasure the man, but not just for the man, but for themselves as well. They even have a thing called the pulling of the clit or something, where they enlarge it so that it adds pleasure for them and for the man.
That's dope.
So it's a whole thing that we just don't speak about in this country. We don't have something like that. Even speaking to our mothers about it, it's like, oh, girl, how dare you,
Yeah.
And I don't want to also go through life having a child or a daughter who's curious about things and only having her first orgasm when she's 40 because she's been too scared to speak about it and explore herself. And I'm not going to take her and buy her first vibrator, but just...
But maybe...
Actually, maybe even I should. Maybe I should. But even you, would you talk to your daughter about these type of things?
That's a tough one. But what I was going to say now is that half of the problem is the fact that, the older generation, so our parents and all of that, they themselves, I wouldn't be shocked if a stat came out and said, like, 50% of women over the age of what have never experienced an orgasm. I wouldn't be surprised, because it's just not one of those things, I know there was a clip that went viral on social media, and it was like an old man, and he was like, and he was basically saying that, the problem with you young guys nowadays is that you lick this thing, and he was basically saying that this, like, how dare you lick a vagina? For him, he couldn't fathom that this thing can be licked.
And that's the thing also with the sexual satisfaction. We interviewed a lot of people who said, I'm not really going to go down on a girl, especially if it's like not in a relationship. Meanwhile, the Zirk comes out the first date and they're already here trying to wake you up in the morning. So I do feel like we don't get that chance to also just be like, nah, my turn now. It's just what they want. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, literally.
Yeah.
And that's why. And I know a lot of older women haven't even had the pleasure of having a man eat that thing. You know what I mean? Because it's taboo. It's like...
Look, I mean, I completely understand. I think for a lot of people, oral sex is actually even more intimate than like just normal sex. So I understand why you wouldn't necessarily be amped to go down on someone, especially if you don't know them that
For
well.
sure, but then
first
don't
time.
swing your dick in my face if you're not going to do the same
For sure,
thing. That's
for sure,
all.
for sure.
I understand that. I mean, for one night stands, you know, outside relationships even, perhaps, you know, there's also safe sex, and that doesn't really get included with the oral sex conversation.
Yeah.
But I do think that if you're really going to be, you know, forcefully pushing my head down, then I'm a forcefully push your head down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think a lot of people sort of mentioned was the fact that, especially the women that we interviewed, were that South African men just don't believe in foreplay. You know, so is that like, I would imagine that's half of the problem. You know, I can't relate, and my friends can't relate.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if we're like a special group of guys, but like I know my friends.
No,
they love
it
that
is a
thing.
real
They
thing.
love it.
The mango. Like
Okay. No?
No, I think the thing is also, you know, like a guy will just come, like I said, and try and penetrate you, and then be, why you aren't wet, and it's like, there's a process, there's a work that goes into this type of thing. So I do think that not a lot of people engage in foreplay, but not just oral sex. I mean, foreplay is a wide range of things, and also that we only know foreplay as blowjobs or cunnilingus, as the proper term, is also a problem because there's a variety of things. Men are also very nervous about you bringing a toy into the bedroom. And I haven't even explored that type of thing because now if you bring a dildo and maybe it's bigger than your partner, it's like, oh, so what you're trying to say is you only get like satisfied by this and I'm not good enough. And it's like, this thing is good for both of us. Like we can explore a variety of things. Vibrators work for our body. Dildos work for our body. If Miss Jackson, if you're nasty, whatever. But there's a whole lot of toys for him and her and for her and her and him and him to use together to heighten that foreplay experience. Sometimes sex can actually just be us exploring each other without the penetration part or without the sex part. And I think that's when it's like...
You know, what I will say though is that a lot of guys, particularly, you know, sort of my age or maybe younger, maybe slightly older, you know, our first sort of, the first time that you're exposed to sex is via porn. And that's such a bad...
It's so unrealistic.
It's unrealistic, but it's also just like a bad point of departure, you know? And like I said, I know this because the first time I ever saw like a naked woman was in a porn mag. The first time I saw, you know, a penis going into a vagina was in a blue movie, you know? and you know what I mean? That's like the worst, like, way to be exposed to sex because we all know that, you know, in porn, firstly, it's one way, you know, so even, you know what I mean? So it's all about pleasuring the man. It's all about the money shot. It's all about this. It's all about, and it's all very focused on like sexual conquest as opposed to this is like a two-way thing. And maybe that's why not as many women watch pornography as men.
And maybe that's also why men are learning and, you know, doing this thing of it's about me.
Yes.
Because that's how we view things. It's very voyeuristic on the man's perspective.
Yeah.
And it's all about, you know, I mean, even the shots in some of the blue movies I saw my friend watching, you know, it's very much about this is how we, you know, it's the woman's things that we're viewing and all those things. So if you are a straight woman, you know, and you're watching porn, it's very much, it sometimes can be very unrealistic for my pleasure because I'm just like, okay, all I'm watching is her body and, you know, her entrance but I want to see him. I want to see him enjoy it. I want to see them enjoy it. I want to see, you know, the teamwork. And we were talking earlier about, you know, that position where, I don't know if it has a name, but where someone stands and then is carried and Babs is like that. Even the strongest man, I mean, not all of us are, you know, size 2, but I feel like even if you had a size 2 and a, you know, mandingo, then he couldn't hold her forever.
Yeah,
it's just unrealistic. And here you are like, baby, hold me. It's not romantic. Why can't you hold me? Am I big? Nobody has sex like that for that long. I'm sure in the porns, they're just like, whew, water break, massage, cha-cha, before they go and carry on, you know, the long frame. So I think it's unrealistic.
I mean, but so how do we then, I guess, tackle this thing? Because it's intergenerational, isn't it? You know, so our grandparents had, you know, did it in a certain way, then they sort of passed on or just didn't pass on the information to the next generation, and so the cycle goes. You know, there's even this view that white people are actually more liberal or more experimental in bed, and I don't know. I've never ever been with a white girl, so I don't know. But that
I think just now with me for white people, I feel like I also haven't really explored even friendships with white people to be able to speak and hear their opinion. I mean, South Africa, you know, you get to varsity, it's Kong or it's Tiger. Anyway, but I feel like they're just able to speak about it. You know, it's the same with alcohol. Your first glass of wine is probably at 14 with your mom. It's not this thing that's like secret and only for adults and you can't even like ask about it. And then you go to varsity, you wild out. Like, so the same thing with sex. I feel like they're able to talk to their people more. You can't talk to abantu abadala about sex and like, oh, you can't even be listening to this conversation. Go sit over there. I mean, I'm 28 now, and I feel like this year is the first time that my aunts and my mothers and people are allowing me into conversations and allowing me to also contribute to say, look, I'm also sexually active. I've got questions. I've got tips. You know, so let's get involved. Let's talk, because there's things that even. I mean, today I was talking to some aunts of mine, and they were like, what is that thing, you know? Okay. And I was like, okay. And what is that thing, you know? And it was such a nice sharing moment for me, because finally we're able to speak. And I think that that's improved the relationship between us as women as well, but also the relationship between us and our bodies and the way we view sex and the way we view interactions with, you know, our partners.
I mean, for me, it was particularly tricky, and I think it still is, because, you know, having gone to like boys' school whole life, and then you also go to boarding school, it's just your exposure to it is literally it's just your mates. Your mates are the ones, and then maybe it's the older boys that tell you, no, this is how it's done, this is how it's done. And again,
but that's why you get like 30-year-old niggas who are still
yeah, absolutely.
I do my pap smear every year. I'm good. Like I don't need all of this.
I mean, for David, like, well, for guys, a lot of it is about like, sort of a conquest. You know, thing to do with the girl. They even run back to hostel.
Even foreplay, they do the kind of thing of like, oh my god.
So it's just a common thing at boarding school.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying even with oh gosh, man, you actually threw me for a loop. With the sex thing, it's very much about even foreplay. These days seems to be a lot about just getting her wet for my entry's sake or for my enjoyment's sake, and not I just want to pleasure you. I mean, the other day I remember a friend of mine saying some guy called her and she went over, you know, whatever, and he literally just wanted to give her head and be like, okay, and go on your merry way. And she was just like...
Sounds like me.
But, you know, like, where are these people who, for me, we can just do that type of thing, you know? I mean, other than the person I'm dating. Oh, so kidding. But just one of those people who's like, I'm not doing this so that I can have easy entry because it's wet now or whatever it is. Just because I want to see how beautiful it is when you come, and I want to be the person who makes that happen for you and work together and make, you know, myself come later, but like later, let's do you first.
But then it's more of a, like, you need to feel comfortable with the person, you know, obviously, but then you also need to feel like you can actually trust that person. You know, you were telling me a horrible story of you know, like a girl that experienced a certain thing. Granted, it was in high school, but still, I'm sure that person trusted this person, and that they're not going to now go and run their mouth and
they did.
And they did, you know. So I think especially if that's how you're informed from a young age, you become very skeptical about sex, but also you're just not willing to try certain things. And moreover, you're not going to then like even give that person a chance to even try it, whether it's anal, oral sex, or whatever.
But that why for me, like, I feel like the thing of the notion of sex should only be done, you know, as an adult or whatever, works for its own moral reasons, whatever. But I just feel like sleeping with somebody who's just mature is very important for how you view sex going forward. And like you said, this girl trusted somebody, did something, and then was the talking point of the town for a long time. And going to smaller university towns, that's big, you know. And it probably has even informed how she is now. And this is like, what, 10 years later. So I do feel like you need to be mature, and, you know, maybe that's why girls tend to be attracted to, or heterosexual girls, to older guys, because there is that maturity of, look, okay, maybe, I mean, even like, say, squirting. I know a lot of people who didn't even know that was a real thing, or have never made a girl squirt, or have don't even want to explore that. And it's not necessary that you squirt every time you have sex, or even ever, if that's not, you know, biologically your thing. But the fact that let's explore it. I've heard this thing. Oh, what is this thing? What is this fluid? just a lot of stupid, like, opinions about nastiness of sex. Sex is not, flowers, and it's gotta be nasty.
But surely, like, a girl, like, squirting in your face has gotta be the sexiest thing. No,
I can't answer that. To me, that's traumatizing.
No ways.
To be
death. That sounds like it's hella exciting.
Is it?
Yeah, it sounds like.
Sounds like from what you think. Yeah, okay.
From what I've heard.
Okay. Well, let's escape past that. But do you think actually, and one of the big talking topics was men have an ego. So what is the chance that I can also just be like, Mangi, this is what I like. Let me guide you. Let me show you my body. Because it's not about you not knowing sex. It's about you not knowing me. But I don't think men are receptive to feedback, especially negative feedback. I don't think you should be like in the bedroom, like, you're doing it wrong. But I don't think they're receptive.
Yeah. For me, I like love a partner who's obviously open to communicating, but also who like tells you what they like and what they don't like. So engaging on that front, because I take a lot of pleasure from pleasuring you. You know what I mean? So
not
for
me.
No, not Dame. But for me, that's a big thing for me. You know, so I don't. It's
but
not
do you think you were
but it's not a
always
but
receptive?
It's not a conversation.
Because even when you were young, now
You know
I'm
what
like,
it is?
okay, well, when I was young and I told someone something and it went negative, now I'm never going to do it again.
No, you
I'm
know
very
what it
sure
is?
now.
It's probably maybe I'm just more paranoid about then getting a reputation that this person is whack.
Blamed it, yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe part of it is an ego in that way, but I think that's quite a positive motivator as opposed to.
But I think rather than also just, it's not like your sex is whack, like I'm saying, it's just, these are the things that make me, maybe my ear is a erogenous zone that you didn't know, and you were with someone who before for them it was like the back of their knee, So you just need to learn someone new. It's not even a thing of.
Yeah.
But I really don't think men are receptive. Like I've had people say to me like, she said this and this and gave me some sort of feedback. That means that I'm whack, or she thinks this, or she's just probably been with too many men or too few guys, or whatever it is. And I'm just like, your game, your pipe, or whatever it is not bad if someone's willing to give you feedback. Because for me, it's like, it means they want to come again. It means they want to try again. And they know that there's, more. And if they're not going to give you feedback and just bounce, actually, it's probably
maybe to be honest, it's not something that I've actually ever engaged my mates on. Like, yo, how do you feel when a girl, not necessarily your girl, but when a girl gives you feedback about your performance?
And obviously, it's like sensitive, because you don't want to say it when you're standing there naked and be like, so 4 out of 10, and here are the reasons why. You know what I mean? Like, so in a later time when the conversation is about something banal, and you're having a drink, and it's like, okay, maybe not so much this is what I don't like, but this is what I do like. Can you maybe add this? And you can also, I feel like men aren't listeners or, receivers. So when you're doing something, if she's chopped still, it's probably not that great.
It's not popular.
But if you feel a tense thing or you hear a moan, carry on that thing, you know what I mean? And if she puts her hand somewhere, don't put it back because you think you know. Just follow the leader. And when it's your turn, we'll follow the leader,
Yeah.
And maybe not so much of this pushing down thing, because...
Yeah. But like I said, growing up, I don't know what's the stance with particularly black girls, like oral sex, just giving head, or blowjob, whatever you want to call it, was just like taboo. Like it was just like, honestly, I don't know any black girls who had given head in high school. Maybe my grade, maybe the grade above, maybe one grade below. I'm sure they did, but they just don't want to talk about it. And moreover, when I got to first year varsity, the girls were just like, maybe I've done it once, and I was just like, girl, you lying though. You lying.
No, I do have a friend who's very adverse to giving head. She is just, and receiving though, to her benefit. She's just like, nope, I can't. Sometimes there's a pre-cum. What is that liquid? Why am I swallowing all the time? And I'm just like, it's part of the thing. And I just don't think sex is polite. I think it's supposed to be fun. It's just a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, it's salt, it's mayonnaise, it's fine. A little nasty, but it's more fun when you can explore with someone like that and not have things that you definitely don't do. I mean, I remember having a conversation with someone about eating the groceries, but which is, how do we say it in normal English? Ass play and mouth eating ass. But not wanting to even think about exploring that with women to man doing it, which for my own, I can't.
No,
I can't. But even those types of conversations, I feel like but first the conversation, because there's nothing I can't bring up, at least in my space, to my partner to be like, can we? Should we? And then it's definitely no, or it's yes, or let's try once, or.
So, yeah, I guess the conversation about trying new things, that's the tricky one. Because now if your partner, let's say in their previous relationship, like that's the vibe that they did, and they absolutely loved it, and then, you know, how do you then bring trying new things out in a new relationship?
I don't know, because that one I wouldn't. I know.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad it's never actually been broached to me, because I don't know what I would do with it. But sometimes I do view myself as, okay, well then does that make me prudish? Because there is one thing that I know I won't do, and that's male ass play. But I'm pretty open to everything
in terms
else.
of fingering the ass or licking it?
Sort of just the earth thing. It's okay. You do me and mine and my little, you know, I take care of my garden, water it every day, say hi to the flowers. I don't know. I can't. But I know that it's a thing. I don't know how I would react if someone brought it up to me. I might try. Oh.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I'm not trying to make it personal. I'm saying, as a general thing, it's like, how do you then tackle
Broach
that?
something, yeah. I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where, obviously, the more kinkier the thing is, you have to be more comfortable with your partner.
Yeah.
I don't think I would go on a one-night stand and be like, ooh, eat the groceries, or let's go squirt on my face, like, you know, those type of things. So I think it's just one of those things where maybe even play games. I know that for my 21st birthday, and I still haven't used it, God, but it's like this card where you, tonight, you pick a card, and it says something like, you know, it's just the most random things, like, you know, massage your foot, and then obviously to the more, you know, like lick ass, touch this. And I feel like it's one of those things that you can maybe do with a game rather than just entering the conversation hardcore to like sort of shock someone. See how they react to something on a card. Or on a, you know, they have those dice where it like lick and then a body part, or kiss this. So I think games and even porn, you know, you watch porn together with your partner, which I think is something so amazing, because when they type in something, you're like, okay, I see what my partner tends to search more for. Okay, ass shots, back it up, or whatever it is, you know? And I think that when someone's doing something, and then you can always just be like, hey, how do you feel about this thing? Or, you know, like type something in that, you know, you've wanted to try, see how they react to the video. And I feel like that's the opener for a conversation.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Anyway, I think that's our time for today. But we do want to continue with more of these sex talks. We're kind of playing with the idea of maybe making September, October, 6 months, because we've gotten a lot of great feedback about the episode. So please do comment, tweet, like, share, send photos, all of it. And follow us on Twitter, which is TV_Unfiltered, same as Instagram, and then personal.
And Facebook is TV.Unfiltered, and my handle's @Schmangs with a Z.
Mine is _Dame_. My number is 0. So no, I'm kidding.
But
thanks for joining us.
It's a great topic, I think, particularly because it's something that everyone hopefully though over the age of, you know, the appropriate age, let me put it that way. You said the appropriate age. I didn't say this particular age, just appropriate age for having consensual sex.
Cool. Dab on that.
Yeah, definitely more.
Yeah, that's it.
Peace.
I don't know what to do at the end.